Your hometown station, Carl Goldman with you. Happy New Year 2019. Hard to believe that a decade's almost finished. We are going to do a special program right now. Here at the start of the year, uh, it I'm concerned because I see so many accidents out there on the freeway, and of course, through the radio station, we're always talking about accidents and SIG alerts, and so we see, unfortunately, the tough side out there. And we've seen a rash of motorcycle accidents as well here in the Santa Clarita Valley recently, and thought we'd take some time to talk about motorcycle safety. More importantly, and not necessarily if you're driving a motorcycle, because most of us out here are not driving motorcycles, nor would we be caught driving a motorcycle. At least that's from my seat. Um, but we're the ones driving cars that can do some things to prevent a lot of the accidents. And it's my pleasure here in the studio. I have Josh Greengard from the CHP, the California Highway Patrol, and also Dave Reeves, the owner of Reeves Complete Auto Center here in Santa Clarita off of Ruther. And Dave, first of all, I want to welcome you and thank you we're going to be creating for this year, 2019, a whole series of motorcycle safety tips. And I want to thank Reeves for sponsoring this.
You're welcome, Carl. It's my pleasure to be here with you and Officer Greengard.
And Josh, I know you're out there all the time. You see it, and Dave, you see it as well, and I see it. We've lost a lot of people to motorcycle accidents, and most of the time, those accidents are happening because of drivers in cars, right?
Yeah, for the most part. But the big thing is to just share the road, right? I mean, cars are on there, trucks are on there, big rigs are on there, buses are on there, motorcycles are on there. And you really have to respect one another that are on the road. We're all trying to get to a destination, right? We're all trying to get home. We're all trying to go to work. We're all trying to take the kids to school or whatever you're going to. And it's just important to respect each other and respect everybody else that's on the road and, be courteous.
So, and for me, I think one of the big things out there that I see on the freeways, particularly here on the 14 and the 5 freeway, is the carpool lanes. And when traffic is slowed down, the motorcycles are trying to weave through both on the right side of the carpool lane and between the left lane, and there's not a lot of space there. So, just any words of wisdom for all of us?
Yeah, so lane splitting is legal in California. You can do it. You have to make sure you do it with caution, both vehicles and motorcycles. The main thing is to to check your blind spots, check your mirrors, check your surroundings, right? If you're not going to cross over the double yellow lines, that's illegal, right? Even with that white solid line next to the double yellow lines, it's still illegal. You have to wait for it to be broken, the broken white lines to show up before a vehicle can move over left or right into another lane. But the main thing is also the motorcycles. If traffic's going 10 miles an hour, the motorcycles shouldn't be doing 40 or 50 or 60 miles an hour. They have to be going, with due caution and make sure that they're going to be okay too.
I actually think that was going to be one of my points coming up. A lot of people don't realize the blind spots they do have in their vehicles. I just bought a new 19 Camry. It's got a little bit of one, but fortunately it's also got sensors on the mirrors which tell you there's somebody next to you, which is a really good feature. Case in point, I was going to buy a Camaro this year. Camaros are rated as one of the worst cars on the road only because they have such a bad visibility factor. Your point on the motorcycle slowing down, there's been a lot of times where you'll be cruising in traffic 5 to 10 miles an hour and these guys go by you 55 or so. To me, there ought to be something in regards to that as far as regulating that, but I know it's very difficult to do. Unfortunately, I just lost a close customer, and he was my lead tech's best friend, and my lead tech was his best man in his wedding, Anthony Princata, on Sierra Highway to a motorcycle accident last month. So it was pretty tragic when it hits home like that.
Of course.
Right.
Yeah.
He did a lot of work with the Elks Lodge, I know.
Yes, he was very big into the Elks Lodge. He had his own toy drive he started for homeless kids, and not necessarily homeless, but kids that were less fortunate as others. So yeah, that drive is still going on. So
Josh, do you think that the new car sensors, our new KHTS van, courtesy of Frontier Toyota, that has sensors for anyone coming up on the lane or even getting too close, and is a real, and now a lot of the cars also have the self-correcting things on it. Is that going to help, do you think?
I think it'll help. I don't think it'll completely solve the problem. Like I said, with greater speed of a motorcycle and a car doing less speed, like we just talked about, I don't think the sensor is going to pick it up as fast, or it's going to warn you as quickly. But if traffic's moving at a steady speed and they're slowly passing or slowly decreasing in speed, I think it's very, very good, right? The blind spots, like we talked about, motorcycles can easily sit in them and easily fit in them because they're a smaller type of motorized vehicle, and you may not see them, but those sensors, they're there to help you. I have them in my truck. My wife has them in her car. They're there. They work for me.
Yeah, and they definitely help, but as you said, they still don't eliminate the blind spots that you were talking about, Dave.
No, and I think there's a lot of responsibility on us driving cars when the motorcycle's on the road, giving them the courtesy when splitting lanes is legal. I know anytime I see a bike coming up behind me, I will move over.
Of course. Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, the motorcycle rider will give you a hands up because they appreciate that.
Yeah.
So they're not doing anything illegal per se. Maybe at times they're going a little bit too fast, but we still have to understand that they have a license just like we do, and it's share the road, and you just try to help them as best you can. I would never have a motorcycle. When I grew up, my parents told me no motorcycles allowed at my house when I was a young kid.
We must have grew up at the same household.
Yeah, yeah. And it was the same rule when my kids became old enough to ride a motorcycle. They were not allowed to have one at my house. It's my rule. They're just so dangerous.
But the reality is, I'm looking at my CHP cheat sheet here, and there's 900,000 registered motorcycles here in California, 1.4 million riders, the most of any state in the country. And I know we have a high percentage of motorcycle riders and dirt bike off-road riders here in Santa Clarita.
Yeah, I totally agree. Motorcycles are nice when it's congested. As the population increases, more traffic increases. The motorcycle, it is nice to be able to split the lanes, and as long as you're doing it safely and 5-10 miles an hour above the speed limit that everyone else is going. Not the speed limit that it's posted, but if traffic's moving 15 miles an hour, a good speed for a motorcycle is 20, 25 at the most, not 45, 50, because you just don't see them as they're coming up on you.
And at 25 miles, you can get there pretty quickly.
Yeah, you're getting through traffic fairly quickly. If the congestion's only a mile or two, you're going to get through it within 30 seconds, 40 seconds at the most.
With motorcycles right now, Josh, do you see that on the surface streets here that people are being more courteous with motorcycles or not?
We do have a lot of surface streets that the Newhall CHP does patrol, but a lot of the surface streets are canyon roads. So
and their speed tends to be a problem, and I know that from our kids living off of Sand Canyon and Clarita, which is CHP.
San Francisco and Bouquet Canyon. So, through those canyons, I guess people try to take them as a leisurely kind of ride, but like I just said, it needs to be more of a leisurely ride. It's not a race course kind of thing. So,
good. And go ahead, Dave.
That gets back race course. I want to say it was 3 years ago. I lost one of my lead technicians. He had just gotten a motorcycle. Carl knows about it, and he took it up to Angeles Crest Highway, and was going way too fast, and front wheel hit some dirt and slid off and hit the guardrail head first. He literally had the motorcycle a month and never ridden one before.
Yeah.
So it's just like, if you're going to buy one, you probably ought to go at least take it on somewhere and practice by yourself and learn the do's and the don'ts and what you think you can do. And
of course, learn your capabilities and
correct.
Learn your strengths and weaknesses. Because
sad thing about him was he had a 3-year-old and he had a baby on the way. It was tragic, but
And you take safety courses as well. Carl Goldman here at KHTS, your hometown station, chatting with Josh Greengard of the CHP, Dave Reeves of Reeves Complete Auto Center here in Santa Clarita, sponsoring a new motorcycle safety feature that we're going to be promoting in our traffic reports every morning and afternoon for 2019. I want to ask a couple quick questions off the subject. My father-in-law broke his hip the other day. We had to take him in the ambulance from our house over in Canyon Country to Henry Mayo, and then transporting him from Henry Mayo down to Kaiser. And we were shocked riding in the ambulance about how many people do not know what to do when an ambulance goes by. So could you...
Any sort of emergency vehicle, fire department, CHP, sheriffs, any sort of local police department, ambulances, they all have red lights on them. Some of them have red and blue lights like police cars do. You're always supposed to move to the right. If they're riding or they're driving, you need to move over to the right when their lights are on. Obviously, if they're just behind you and they're just going with traffic, I mean, it's nice to let them go by because they're probably going somewhere. They may not be going to an emergency at that particular time with their lights off, but they're probably going somewhere. So it's always nice to let them go by. But, yeah, you need to let them go by on the right. It's not like you wait till they're right behind you and then you let them over to slow them down. You see them coming, just start moving over to the right.
And you should stop on the right side.
Stop on the right, yeah. Stop on the right shoulder or in the rightmost lane or whatever it is. Let them go by on the left because California law states that emergency vehicles will pass on the left lane or the left side of the roadway, and it's common for us, going down McBean to jump the curb and go wrong way sometimes because there's just congestion, right? Go through an intersection wrong way just to get around the left-hand turn pocket and all the straight lanes and right turn lane. Like some of the intersections we have, we'll go wrong way because there's an emergency we're going to. Someone's probably needs our help, right? They could be dying, they could be severely injured, right? And the faster we get there, the more likelihood they're going to live.
People were stopping on the left. It was just it was an eye opener. So that's going to be our new campaign as well. I know it's the start of the year, and I don't know what new laws there are for 2019, but there are a few laws that changed in the last 4 or 5 years in driving, and I still have a tough time getting used to it. One is making sure you have your lights on when it's raining and the windshield wipers are
windshield
on.
wipers are going, lights are on.
Yeah.
No matter what.
Yeah.
A lot of us have those auto lights now. I mean, probably all three of us do in our cars. Sometimes those auto lights, it's not dark enough, right? It's the middle of the day. It's raining. It's not a really dark storm. It's just a light drizzle or whatever. You still need to have your wipers on, lights are on. That's just how it is.
And a plug for Dave here, getting your wipers fixed would probably be a good thing. How many times do you see people with just trashed wipers?
A lot.
Yeah.
I just had a good customer come in yesterday that she had a rear wiper and the blade was so bad the actual arm dug into the glass and now she got a big scratch. Yeah, I mean, it's like, really? But it happens,
Especially here in Santa Clarita when it's 192 out in the summer, it just warps that.
It's not unusual for me to put wipers on somebody's car a couple times a year just because we're lack of rain and they just dry out. It's kind of that's kind of good knowing that law about the lights. I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
Well, the other
Thanks
one
for
that
cluing me in, Carl.
the other one that's more recent that I still forget all the time, and maybe you can explain what this is, Josh. It's the
law.
No
cell phone law, where you have to not touch your cell phone.
Yeah, that's a whole different subject. But no, the one that I'm referring to is when you're on the freeway and CHP has pulled someone over, you can't stay in the right lane anymore. Correct? Or what is the actual law?
That's a California law now?
It's a slow down or move over. So if Caltrans or any sort of CHP, fire department, emergency vehicles on the right shoulder with their lights on, you should move over or slow down. Yeah, it's one of the two. Most times it's easier just to move over, continue at the 65 mile an hour posted speed limit.
I've traveled a lot of states racing, North Carolina, Tennessee, Texas, wherever, and they have signs posted.
Yeah.
Ticket cited if you do not move over.
Yeah.
Period. If there's as you said, some kind of emergency vehicle.
And Caltrans on the freeway is considered, they're supposed to be there. They're the ones maintaining the roadways. They're either looking out for what they need to get done, or they're looking at guardrail, whatever they're there for, you need to move over for them too. And it's pretty clear that they're big orange and white vehicles. You can clearly see them.
The other eye opener, I always think I know everything, but every day I learn I don't.
Does your wife
I
tell
learn
you
there's
that?
more. Yeah, my wife. Yeah, exactly. That's a whole other story. We'll do that. We'll do a special show on that. Cody's laughing here in the studio. KHTS, your hometown station. We do. KHTS does a home and garden show every year, and this coming year it will be the end of April at Central Park. We also tack on the Emergency Expo, and I know CHP is always part of that, and Earth Day, Arbor Day with the city. So it's a big event. Mark your calendars. Last weekend in April, free of charge, and we were already talking before this program about the Emergency Expo for this year. Will be on Saturday, the last Saturday in April over at Central Park. Well, one of the things I learned last year, every year we do with the fire department, we do the Jaws of Life, where they demonstrate the Jaws of Life and show, for those who don't know what Jaws of Life is, it's extracting people from a car in a major collision. And I'm sure, Josh, you've seen it in real action
Probably hundreds of times. I've seen them use those things.
But the one thing I learned from the fire department this year that was new to me, and Dave, maybe you can elaborate on it, they have challenges now with the hybrid cars and the electric cars, because they can get electrocuted and create more, not only harm to themselves, but more harm, so that and that all the cars have different disconnects, or many cars have different disconnects. So they're now on their cell phones with an app that pulls up, if there's a car that needs to have the Jaws of Life, that's a hybrid or an electric, they're pulling up an app and checking to see what has to get disconnected before they touch the car. Am I right there?
I have seen them. I don't know the logistics behind it, but I have seen them saying, oh, this is a Prius, or this is a Volt, or this is a Leaf, or this is a Tesla, X, Y, and Z, whatever it is. I have seen them go pop the hood or disconnect whatever they need to disconnect so no one gets electrocuted in the car, because it's an electric car.
Yeah, and so one of their guys is actually, so as you're kidding about the phone and the car, a lot of times now they're wasting time, but it's precious time, but they have to do it where they are looking on their phone to see if it's a 2014 Prius may be different than a 2019 Prius on the disconnects.
I've been told, and I don't know if this is true or not, and I'm sure you can probably advise us on this, Josh, that fire department, I don't know if they do it with, sheriffs, highway patrol, whatever, that go out to a scene. They actually have to go through special training to use the Jaws of Life, because most of the hybrid cars, all those cables run through some portion of the body.
Yeah.
A lot of them run through the roof line. Some of them run through the rocker post, which obviously is, the floor post.
Yep.
I know for a fact that there is some training for that, so they do know when they come up to a scene. But as you said, Carl, there's so many of them cars now. Right. Obviously, being in an auto repair industry for going on 30 years, almost 11 with my own shop, the last thing I want to see is the entire nation go to electric cars, because I'd be selling shoes if that was the case. Fortunately for me, I'm on the downhill side of my business, so a couple, 3 years I'll be out, but you still have to face the facts that there are a lot of them out there. I do a lot of work on electric cars, only if it involves the gas portion of the engine, because they're, gas over electric. The complete hybrids I don't even touch, other than brakes or whatever.
Well, you'll change their windshield wipers.
Correct. Yeah, I'll put wipers on it, sure.
Headlights and windshield
and
wipers.
headlight bulbs, correct, yeah. Yeah, but some of these cars, when my guys open the hood, they're scared, because there's 240 volts there that'll send you
It's
to the
intimidating.
moon in a heartbeat.
How many times have you been installing a light in your house and got zapped by 110?
Oh, yeah.
I don't want to get zapped by anything more than that.
Exactly, which is something I never thought about before. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Maybe we can do this in a few more months too, and do an update and talk a little bit more. But we want to definitely wish everyone a happy new year, and let's be safe out there on the road. Josh Greengard, thank you so much. CHP, Dave Reeves, Reeves Complete Auto Center. Carl Goldman here, wishing you a happy 2019 on your hometown station, KHTS.
Hometown, your hometown station.
The anticipation.